All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's continue with that question. Okay. So as we were talking about, so what they're asking is how much should we pay in equal annual deposits for 20 years, right? So as soon as they say equal annual deposits, it automatically means PMT, right? So PMT is what we want to find out. Now, the easiest way to solve this is to, if even if you do not think too much intuitively, if you just look at, if I have to find this PMT, let's type in what are the other data points we will need. So if you just write down PMT, right, it asks for rate, right? It's going to ask for NPER, number of periods which we have, right? So let's write down out here. If we have to calculate in PMT, the rate, number of periods, right? What else is asked? The future value, right? The present value, right? The type, right? Anything else is it required? I don't think so, right? So these are the 5 data points which we will need. Now let's see the question. Let's see the question if we actually know that. Where's my question? Yeah. So do we have the rate? Just check your question. I'm talking about pre-retirement, right? So yes, we do have the rate, right? So we have 9%. So this is there. NPER is, this is available, right? 20 years. So I can write 20. Do I have the future value? Do I have this? We're trying to find PMT. And for this, these are the data points which are required. So the question is, I have the rate, I have the NPER. Do I have the future value? Or do I have the present value? Present value as it is, we don't need. Future value will not be 0, right? Because look at the question. The question which is asking is, how much should I save? When you're exactly saying equal annual deposits is equal to PMT, you must be having a target in mind, backtrack it and try to find out how much money you actually need to save per month, right? That's how it works, right? So I would need the future value, which I don't have the future value, right? PV really doesn't matter. So PV can be 0, it really doesn't matter, right? And type is again 0 because they are saying at the end of the period, right? So if you see the question, if nothing is mentioned, you assume that it is happening at the end of the period, right? Now, if we don't know future value, then I cannot directly find PMT. So there is an additional step to this. That means what do I need to find out first? FV. This is what I need to find out first to give the final answer, right? So are you guys following till here? Are you all good?
Yes, sir.
Right? Sumedh, Munish, Richard, we are
Yes, sir.
clear till here, right? Okay. Now the second step is to find the future value. That means the value is somewhere here, right? This is where the future value is there, right? Right? But if I have to find future value again here, let's open up the function here, okay? Let's open up the function here, future value. Do I have the rate here? Yes, I have the rate here, right? By the way, will I use future value or will I use present value out here? Because out here at year 1, the value that you will get here is future value. But from in year 20, you have to forget about what happened before 20 and you're talking about 20 to 30, right? So in order to save this money, in order to use this money this way, I have to have some value here. So will that be present value or will that be future value? Because future value will be here. Second part of the question, forget about what happened between 1 and 20. Now we are dealing with 20 and 30. Think of it as a new case. Okay, it's a new case. So from 20 to 30, somebody is telling me that there is a PMT of minus 10,000, which I can clearly see out here. The rate has remained 9%. The N per is another 10 years, right? Future value doesn't seem to be we have here, because he wants to draw out your savings. There's no thing mentioned that whether he wants to keep some money at the end, right? We don't know what he's going to do, right? So we are assuming that he will fully use the money. So the future value of this portfolio at 30 would actually become zero, because that is what the question says. If you see the question, he wants to draw out at the rate of 10,000 per year. Now, if the question would have mentioned that also he would like to keep this 30% of the value at the end, then we would have the future value. But in this question, at year 20, we really don't have the future value. So what is left is the PV, the present value. So the only thing which I can find out here is the actual present value. Okay, so let's find out PV. Let's just select the questions and you will find out what exactly is happening. Okay, so just bear with me. So N per is 10. Okay, PMT is minus 10,000. Future value is zero, because he does not want to save anything at the end from 20 to 30, right? So the future value is zero and type is zero. Let's see what the value we get. It comes to 64,176. What is this money? That means if he has 64,176 at year 20, then he will be able to draw out his savings at the rate of 10,000 per year for 10 years. How many of you agree with this? Is this clear?
Okay, go ahead.
Anyone? Yeah, Richard, you can go on.
No, it's clear.
Clear, right? Sumedh, it's clear?
Yes, it's clear, sir.
Clear, no? Okay.
Yeah.
So you understood, right? Why future value is zero? Very important. Okay, this can confuse you. Because here, if somebody had told us that, okay, there has to be some value which has to be kept at the end, then I would have taken the future value. So if let's say the question said that whatever this guy's name is, right, he wanted to keep, let's say, about 10,000 left at the end. So my value of this would be 10,000 here, right? So I'll have to actually put in the future value as 10,000. Then my value would see how the present value is changed, right? So that means the amount of money which I would have at the end, right, would be lesser, and he would be able to draw his savings still at 10,000. Right? So do not confuse yourself with future value, because we do not have to keep anything at the end, right? Now, think of this. This value of 64,176 is at year 20. Now we come back to the first part. Okay, here. Now we're coming to the first part. Now the question is, if we want to reach 64,176 by year 20, how much should we save? Right? That is the question, right? PMT. So what we're going to do is type in the PMT function and you will get the answer. Okay, so rate is 9%, N per is 20, right? Present value, is there a present value? Nothing, we don't know. Future value, now we know, right? The future value is 64,176.758, right? So, and type is 0. There you go. That means $1,254 annually, so that he first reaches 64,176 and then he's able to draw it at the rate of 10,000. So that's why this is actually a very nice question, because if you actually just replace the numbers for yourself, it will give you a ballpark number on how much you have to save, right? The only problem is the rate assumption. Okay, let's just first complete this and then we can come to that.
Sir, I was thinking in different way. I was thinking
Okay.
that after 20 years, I will
Mhm.
get 10,000 on my investment, whichever I did. Means the 9% interest will be 10,000. I was thinking in that way.
And that is what is happening. See, if we do not assume this 9%, and that is exactly what is happening, Shani. Because if you remove this 9%, see what happens, right? So basically, what's happening is this 64,176, because of this 9%, only you are able to manage 10,000. If this 9% was not there, the requirement would increase, right? See, no, if it becomes zero, then I would need 1 lakh, simple interest calculation, right? Nothing. I mean, just I need to just have 1 lakh. And if I have 1 lakh, I will just withdraw at the rate of 10,000, right? Now, if the interest rate increases, right? Let's say if it increases to 15%, then my value required is lesser, right? If I want to keep something at the end, let's say I want to keep 20,000 at the end, right? Then my value required is lesser, right? Because then this will get adjusted. Because if I want to keep something at the end, I would try to spend a little lesser, right? So in reality, it is happening the same way, right? So 9%, because of 9% is why you are able to actually manage that.
Oh, no, no. I was thinking 9% will be 10,000.
Okay, 9% will be, so you're saying, see now what is happening. You are saying that you do not want to use the principal. That is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I was
And you want
thinking
to
that
just
way.
survive on the interest which is generated, right?
Yeah.
Which can also be done. So the only question will be how much money would you require to make 9%, 10,000 is 9. So basically what you're saying is 9% should be equal to 10,000, right? This is what we're saying. 9% is
Yeah.
should be 10,000, right? That
Yes.
means the value is something like this: 9% into X value, right, is equal to 10,000. Just find the X value. So that would be what? 10,000 divided by X? Sorry, 10,000 divided by 9%.
One something.
So this is what you would be needing all the time. But the issue is, once you withdraw that 10,000, again you're expecting that you're getting 9% the next time, the next year also. Every year there is a compulsion to make 9%,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but I mean, for this only the problem with this is this effect. This will not take the effect of compounding. Because basically what you're doing is as soon as you're making that 10,000, you're just removing it. And again, start from zero. So both ways it will work.
No, I was thinking in that way for that question. That was my.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. But what happens is generally the calculation even does not happen in portfolio management like this. Okay. How it happens is we try to assume that, okay, these are my expenses. Let's say I say 15,000 is my expenses. So we will write all the expenses, right? And then we will try to see how much risk we can take. Okay. So this 15,000 of expenses is if we want to manage, right? If we want to manage using my portfolio, then what we will try to do is we have to manage that 15,000 using the safest assets. Okay. So that's how foundations and trust work, right? So safest assets is what we'll take. Now, what are the safest? I mean, not safest in that sense, but safest in from the perspective of volatility, because we cannot post retirement take the risk of equity markets fluctuating, because if we rely on that 9% on equity markets, there is a good chance that 1 year the returns might not come, right? Because the markets can go up and down. So generally there will be a bond portfolio there. Okay, not FD, it will be a bond portfolio. All right. So one way of understanding this is that, okay, let's get the safe the fixed returns from bonds. The sum, so even if let's say we have let's say 1 crore, right? If you have 1 crore portfolio, some proportion of it will go in bonds, right? So there will be some allocation, let's say 30%. right? So this 30% is allocated from the mindset that we have to make 15,000. Okay. Now that gets taken care of. Then later is to beat inflation. How will we beat the inflation? Because if we just rely on 115,000, that means my principal value will remain same. And if my principal value remains same, that's time value of money, right? The value of 1 lakh will keep on depreciating. So we are screwed. So what we're going to do is we're going to also take some equity exposure, but limited, okay, just to beat inflation. So there will be an equity portfolio. That too, the equity portfolio generally will be a large cap investments, right? Top 50 companies of India, right? So let's say about 20 or 15% would be the equity exposure, right? Now this would followed up with, let's say, alternative investments, because you also want to you also want to diversify. You never know what can happen to the bonds portfolio and the equity portfolio together. There might come a crash, right? So you might, let's say, keep another 20% in alternative investments. What is alternative investments? It is something like real estate, something like hedge funds, something like gold, silver. All these are alternative assets. Okay. So now you can see here, every asset allocation has a different objective to it. Okay. Bonds has a objective of giving you income, right? Equity has the objective of beating inflation, and alternative assets is the objective is to give you a lower correlation. I mean, if I use financial terms, it means lower correlation, but layman term, diversification. Okay. Now we just covered equity, bonds, alternatives, right? Now there could be some other investments also. Okay, it's not necessary. So we could also keep some part of the money as liquid, because we might just require immediate cash flows, right? That time we don't want to be breaking our bond portfolio or equity portfolio to take out the money. So there would be a certain calculation that, okay, what would be the worst case scenario of how much liquidity we would need? Let's say if you have to calculate for yourself, it would be 6 months salary or 6 months of your expense, whichever is higher. Okay. So for example, I might say that, okay, my monthly expenses is 1 lakh fixed. So that means my liquid allocation, my first portfolio to be ready should be liquid, which is 1 lakh. Because you never know, you might switch a job, you might switch your location, and or you might, let never happen, but let's say if we fall sick for 3 months, right? We should have the capacity to again bounce back, right? So liquidity is that. Okay. So you see here, now we have 65% is almost invested, 35% is kept as emergency fund. This is never used. I mean, this is never invested, because this has to be available at T+1. Okay, that means if today I keep send the request, by tomorrow morning I should get the money. And now you can clearly see we have not used any FD, because FD is taxation is bad, because it gets taxed at the hands of the investor, right? So if you put an FD, every interest that is coming to you is getting taxed, and you lose out a lot of money. Versus a liquid fund, you actually get the units. So if you till the time actually you do not sell the liquid fund, you never get taxed. So that's the beauty of liquid fund. That's why I always recommend you guys to invest in liquid fund. And there are safe liquid funds. Okay, liquid funds are basically funds which invest on short-term bonds. The bonds that I spoke about here are long-term bonds. Example, 10-year Government of India bonds. These are long-term 10-year government bonds, right? Which can give you return in the form of price increase, capital gain, plus it can obviously give you income as well, right? If you talk about equity, I mean, I think everybody understands equity, right? But what is the difference between bonds and liquid fund? Liquid fund invests in short-term bonds, like companies, even government for that matter, they require short-term money, right? So short-term money in the form of 30-day, let's say 30-day bonds or 15-day bonds, right? Because companies require it for their working capital, right? So what they do is they will issue these short-term bonds plus, and these are big companies. Okay, for example, like HDFC, SBI, right? They could also be, and these are all rated bonds. Okay, and plus there are FDs also of companies. Okay, of larger companies again. Let's say Birla, right? Or let's say Reliance or HDFC. Now the same FD, now you were going and making directly at HDFC and taking the taxation hit. Now, if you invest through, let's say, the liquid fund, you save on the tax, right? Because you will not be, forced to pay the interest, the taxation on the interest. So that's how, at a very broad level, this is what portfolio management works in reality. But as if you talk about our personal finance, it is not that complicated. Just we need to fix out an allocation. This is called as asset allocation, by the way, guys. This is what people don't understand. This is asset allocation. And when I was doing my CFA level 3, right, till level 2, we used to assume that, okay, it's all about finding newer opportunities and finding newer investment vehicles. Nothing like it. 99%, okay, mind you, okay, this is a statistical statement. 99% of your returns or wealth is explained by asset allocation, not by picking up stocks or finding newer opportunities. Okay, so if you end up having a good portfolio at the end, it will be because you had asset allocation in equity or asset allocation in alternative, not because you selected the perfect stock. The probability of that happening is very low, of finding that one, bumper stock. Probability is very low. And even if you find one, it's very difficult to repeat, right? So it's very difficult to repeat. Talk about any investors. If you look at the CAGR returns, it was somewhere come around, even if the top investors, okay, the returns would come somewhere around 20 to 25%. Okay, so even if we are not able to make 20 to 25%, if we are able to still make 15 to 17%, that's a good enough returns to meet your targets. Okay, so we will dive in more deep on this. I just thought of giving you a good heads up on how this actually pans out. Okay, now we dealt with the first question. Let's go to the second question. Okay, once we have done with this question, then we
I had one question.
Yeah. Go on.
This is not like related, but it's kind of related. But is there any way we can like get dividends?
Dividends is like taking your house and putting on rent.
Yeah, right. But there are few stocks which gives dividend, and
yeah. So no, I have nothing against dividend, but the only thing is, I'm saying dividend is a part of your income, but it's not the main income, right? So okay. Your main function of equity is to beat inflation, right? And the way it beats inflation is by increasing in price faster than the inflation, right?
Yeah.
If you get dividends, fantastic. See, dividend is nothing. I mean, I would always prefer not to get the money, dividend. Instead, okay. If you give me let's say, see, whenever company declares dividends, no, the price of the stock decreases. Okay, not immediately. Immediately there's euphoria, so the prices will obviously increase. But there is an effect, because see, company, what it's doing is, think of it logically. Okay, if we are running a company and at the end we made some profit, and out of the profit, if I give you the money, has my value of my company gone down or up?
Down.
Yeah, right. Because I could have used that money to invest in the company and grow it more, right?
Yeah.
So as an investor, if my cash flows requirement is set, why would I need that money? Don't give me that money. You put it back.
Yeah.
Right? So dividend, that's why dividend function, I don't really like dividend, because if I want dividend, if I want fixed income, right, I can use bonds,
Okay.
right? And plus, once the person gets the money in the hands, I mean, money goes into the hands, and plus there is dividend distribution tax. That's another problem. I mean, you get taxed twice. Once that money is already taxed by income tax, and then the second step again when it comes back to you, then again there's a tax. So there's a double tax. So why would I need that money? So that's why, although people talk about a lot about dividends, but financially it really, I mean, if you do the calculation, it will not make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's do the second question now. You can deposit 4,000 per year into an account that pays 12% interest. Okay. I hope you have the question at your end open, because I cannot share two screens at the same time. So
can you share this Excel doc also, like with to us in the group or something?
this Excel doc?
Yeah.
Okay, this one, right? Yeah. I'll do that. So I'll just name it
so
as rough. Okay.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I'll do it in one sheet itself. Then. Okay. Now you can deposit 4,000 per year. So again, what you're saying per year. So what is this 4,000? 4,000, the value which you have been given. Sorry?
PMT.
Wonderful, right? So this is PMT. Into an account that pays 12% interest. So that is 12%. Wonderful. If you deposit such amount for 15 years, right? So now again, start depositing for 15 years. Okay, so let's create a timeline. So let's create here, and let me create those 15 repetitions. So it's repeating till here. Okay. So what it's saying is, if you deposit per year into an account that pays 12%, and if you deposit such amounts for 15 years, so that means what it's saying is you do something like this. Keep depositing, investing. Right? For 15 years, okay, at the rate of 12% interest. Wonderful. If and start drawing money out of the account in equal installments after that. How much could you draw out each year for 20 years? Okay. Now, as far as I can understand, what it's asking for is after 15, another 20. Okay. So that means we're talking about 35 periods. Okay. In total for the question. So if I just keep on extending this, oops. Oops, I think I extended a little more. It should end at 35. Right? So this is the entire timeline, starting from first all the way up till 35. Right? So till 15 years, we invested 4,000 every year. Now what the question is, start drawing out money in equal installments, right? How much could you draw? So the question is PMT. What are they asking? PMT. In the next part, what are they asking? PMT. Right? Now let's see whether we have the data to directly calculate PMT. Okay. So if we want PMT, what would we need? We would need the rate, right? The first data point which we would need is rate. We would need the future value. We would need the present value. The future value, even if we do not have, it's fine. We could assume it as 0. But the present value, do we have it? We don't. Do we have the N per? Yes, we do. The N per is 20, right? The rate, do we have it? Yes, we have it. So we have 12%. But the problem is, we don't have PV. Right? We really don't have PV out here. Because from which account am I going to withdraw that PMT is not clear, right? So the problem for this question is that in order to find PMT, we need to have a PV, right? Some value out here. Okay, let's go to the first part of the question now. So the best part to do is just put in whatever data you have. You have the PMT here. So you have PMT as minus 4,000. You have the rate as 12%. Okay. What else do we have? We have the N per as 15 years,
15.
right? What else do we have here?
PV is 0.
PV is 0. So we've got all the data points, right? So it's pretty obvious that what could be found out, right? So we can find out the FV, right? So rate is 12, N per is 15, EMT is 4,000, PV is 0.
0.
And if the question does not say anything at beginning or ending, we'll assume it as 0. So now what 1,49,118 means is that this is the amount that would get accumulated in my portfolio at year 15. So this is what I have here,
So that is the present value for that.
right? Right. So for the first part of the question, this was future value, right? But for the second part of the question, now it's saying I have 1,49,118. How much could I withdraw, right, from the account for 20 years? So now do I have the present value?
Yes.
Yes, we have the present value, right? Now, can I find the PMT?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So rate remains same. N per is 20. Present value is, now the good part is to do is present value to keep it negative, because so that you can get the right signs. The future value is 0 and type is 0. So you would say that if I had accumulated 1,49,000 this way, I would be able to withdraw 19,963 every year till 35 and keep nothing at the end. Okay. In all of our cases, we are not assuming that we're going to keep anything at the end. Okay, and usually in real life, that's not the case, right? Because you want to have intergeneration wealth transfer. I mean, that is what estate planning is called, right? What is estate planning? Estate planning means I have the wealth, now I want to like to transfer. Good? Are we good? Any queries on this question?
Sir, I got it. I actually did it right. But there is one curiosity I have.
Okay.
For example, if PMT is 19,963, right? 0.85. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I draw out for 20 years that equal amount, then it will be around 4 lakh, right? So I'm not understanding that part.
No, so
How
see,
will-
19,963, right?
Yeah.
You are withdrawing every year for how many years? 20.
20 years.
But when you're just multiplying it, you're just calculating simple interest. Right? This is just simple interest, right? I mean, this is not assuming the 12% interest that you're making.
Oh, sorry.
Compounding effect. Remember, I don't know whether you remember this. This is what is happening in the background.
Yes, sir.
So this is tremendous. That's why I'm saying, no, people don't understand time value of money. Because imagine if you had to draw out basis only cash, how much money would you require? You would require a lot of money. Yeah? You know, you would require almost 4 lakh rupees, versus now you just need one for 1,49,000 because you are generating higher interest rate. And that is why a lot of people tend to lose out a lot of wealth later on in their life, because they've kept money in FDs, which is not even, beating inflation. And at the end, it's like, at the end, the money required is too much. And at the end, nothing is left. Now, assume for a while that if you actually had 4 lakhs, right? And if in order to just make 19,963 withdrawal every year, you would just need 1,49,000, right? So if you had 4 lakhs, you could leave the rest of the money for the other generation, right? And they would also benefit. So this is what happens if, this is the effect of compounding. That's why I said time value is time. Why is it called time value? Because one is Time is limited, and second is your time actually has more value than anything else. And if you're able to compound it for a longer period, I mean, there's tremendous wealth. I mean, simple ideas. I mean, you don't have to be a hedge fund trader to make money. Trust me. You just need basic strategy, right? And we will get there. Okay, we will get there. I will share some of very simple strategies which can work for you without, you know, you sitting on a computer and trading every day. Not required. Okay. All right. How good are we with till now in question number 2?
Got it, sir. Right.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody there with me, right?
Yes.
Okay. What time does everybody have to go for office? What time?
Mine starts at 10.
10. But the main question is, I have to ask people who are staying in Bombay. Okay. So
Okay.
the only person who is from Bombay is Sumit. Sumit, what time is do you actually leave for office?
Actually, as I'm working from home today.
Acha,
So
okay.
I'll start.
Anybody else who has to leave for office? Monisha, are you leaving for office? What time do you leave to office?
No, work from home.
Oh, okay. So everybody is working from home. Wonderful. Yeah. Omkar also, right? Omkar Shani?
Yes, sir.
Arre wah. Okay. So let's do next question. Okay. The next question is, if you deposit 13,000 at the beginning of every year for 10 years, if interest is being paid at 8%, how much will you have? This is a simple future value calculation. Anybody got any problem with this? Question number 3.
No, sir.
The only thing that you will change at the end is type, which is 1, because it's saying beginning of every year. Rest everything remains same. It's asking for future value basis, but I'll still just do the calculation out here. Okay, so that we know. Future value, the rate is how much? 8%. N per is
10.
10. And the PMT is, what is the PMT? 13,000.
10,000.
PV is 0. I hope you understood why PV is 0, because we are not doing a lump sum investment initially. And type is 1. I hope you got the same answer. Question number 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, I'll just question number 4. You're getting payments of 8,000. Now, if you're receiving annuity, okay, annuity means you get some money. Salary is also an annuity only. Okay, so you are getting payments of 8,000 at the beginning of every year. They are to last another 5 years. Okay, that means you will keep getting 8,000 at the beginning of every year. That means, let's say, if we are talking about India, beginning year would mean financial year, which would mean April. So beginning of every April, you would be getting 8,000, which will last for 5 years at 6%. What is the value of this annuity? What is that 6%? 6% basically is what they are saying the rate is. And that when they're saying what is the value of this in annuity, it means what is the present value of this future cash flows, right? So 8,000 is your future cash flows for 5 years. What is the present value today? Okay, because 8,000 actually has no meaning, right? Because it's in the future. But what matters is what is its value today. And in order to find that value, 6% is given. And most likely this is the inflation rate which has been assumed. Okay. So 6% rate, N per is 5. And I'm going to get 8,000. But 8,000 out here, if you see, it's going to be positive because I'm going to get it. Is there anything going to be left at the end? Future value? Nothing. So future value is going to be 0. Right? And type is going to be 1. I hope it was beginning of year, right? Yeah. So 35,720 is the value of this future cash flow, right? But now see, if you did not do it this way, if you instead would have just calculated 8,000 multiplied by 5, this would be 40,000, right? This is simple calculation, right? Without compounding, right? And this is with time value of money. So the difference, okay, the difference of 4,279 is actually the inflation effect, the time value of money effect, right? So what is valuable today uh, is more important. Let's do the next question. I hope this is clear.
Yes, sir. Got
By
it.
the way, question number 4 concept is the building block, is the same concept of valuation also. If I ask you the same question, if a company earns profit of $20,000 for 20 years, assuming inflation 6%, you can still find the present value of that company. And that is the concept of valuation. So we will build on that. It's not as simple as I said, but the concept is same. That is how these concepts have been built up. Okay, let's go to the next question. How much, okay, I think question number 4 is done. Question number 5. How much you have to deposit today to have 10,000 in 5 years at 6% compounded semi-annually? How much you have to deposit today to have 10,000 in 5 years? What is it asking for? Let's first get clarity on that. Is it asking for PV? Is it asking for PMT? What exactly?
EV.
PV, right? It's not asking for equal deposits. If it was saying equal deposit every year, then it would have been PMT, right? So let's write PV and let's look at the rate, right? So rate is 6% interest compounded semi-annually. So that means the rate is going to be 3%, right? The N per is going to be 5 into 2 because semi-annually, right? So 2 times. So that means 10 compounding periods. PMT is 0, right? I'm so sorry. What am I trying to find? I'm trying to find the question correctly. EV rate is 3%. And the number of periods is 10. AMT is 0. Future value is how much? 10,000, no? 10,000. 7,440. I hope you got the same answer.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's try to do question. Let's keep question 6 because I'm going to teach this in a bigger scale in a separate Excel. Let's go to question number 7 first. If you get payments of 15,000 per year for the next 10 years and interest is 4%, how much would that stream of worth? How much would that stream of money be worth in present value terms? Can you guys try to attempt this now and give me the answer? Very simple question, no complication. And just give me 2 minutes till the time. If you're done with question number 7, do question number 8. Question number 8 is very similar to question number 1 and 2. Challenging. Okay, so if you easily get question number 7, try and attempting question number 8. I'll just be back with my coffee. Any answers? Question number 7 and question number 8. Okay, question number 7. I'm going to quickly just post in the answer. Yeah, I hope the answers are matching. Good. Correct answer. It's 121,663. Okay. Question number 8. Okay. Let's spell it out. Your company must deposit equal annual beginning of year investments or payments into a sinking fund. Don't worry too much about what is a sinking fund. What it actually means is that there is a tank and you're withdrawing something from it. It's just analogy. Okay. For an obligation of 8 lakh which matures in 15 years. Okay. So for an obligation, we already know what the obligation is. So what is that 8 lakh? Can anybody quickly tell me?
Face value.
Sorry, future value.
Future value.
Yeah, right. So 8 lakh, we already know what the obligation is, right? 15 years hence, how much would I need? Wonderful, right? So we already know future value. We know the N per, which is 15 years. And we also know the rate, 4% interest on the sinking fund. How much must the payments be? So it's a straightforward PMT calculation. Okay. So what we are saying is, in order to reach there, how much money should I save every period, right? So let's look at the rate. The rate is 4%. 4%. There is no difference in compounding. 15 years is the N per, PV is 0. Future value is 8 lakh. And type is 0. So 39,952 negative should be your answer for, there's no question on, this beginning of yours, sorry. It's type 1 calculation. So it should be 38,416. Let me know if you got the answer as same. Shani, your answer is correct. Okay. I hope everybody else, Sumedh, I hope you got this answer right.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now let's do question number 9. Quickly, can anybody tell me the answer? I think this is a straightforward calculation. Just one function calculation. Question number 9. Let me just post the calculation directly. I'm not going to explain this again. It's a pretty straightforward calculation. just be careful on what you write. Okay, the compounding period. How much is it? 50,000, right? Oh, sorry, 45,000. No, 48,000 was said. No, be careful on the periods. So it's 5 years. That means you have quarters. So you have 20 periods, and the 4% interest is compounded quarterly. That means, see, all the rates are given as annual, and you have to convert it into quarterly, right? So 1% per quarter. So, and PV is 45,000. Correct.
Sir, interest 4% compounded quarterly, na, means 4% is calculated on quarter, right?
No. That's what remember the last class where we were confused big time? All the rates mentioned
Yeah.
are annual. Okay. Nobody will come and say every quarter you will make 2%. See, look at home loan. Although you are paying monthly, do they give you interest rate monthly?
No.
They say 6.9% annual. They will just say 6% 9% annual, right? And 12 EMIs. Now it's your job to divide that and calculate what is the actual interest per month.
Yes, sir.
Always remember this.
Got it. Actually, that's why I made.
I know, I understand. So this is the standard. Nobody, because see, it's actually a guideline only, because it's very difficult to compare, right? Somebody's talking quarter, somebody's talking annual, somebody's talking semi-annual. How to compare, right? Because you will have to do calculations. You can compare. But then in the brochure, if you're creating an investment brochure, it's a pretty confusing thing, no? I mean, okay, everybody does not know time value money. So they will not go and do the Excel calculation to find out, Acha, this is how much I'm actually paying. So that's why everything is mentioned annually. Okay, question number 10. How much would you pay for an investment which will be worth 16,000 in 3 years, assuming interest is 5%? Sumit, you're okay with question number 9?
Yes. Actually, I have doubt in question number 7. If I'm getting payments of 15,000 per year, means I'm getting that now, so that must be a future value, no?
No. Getting every year. See, it doesn't matter whether you are getting or whether you're giving, right? But you're getting every period. See, no, every year, right? So it's repeating itself with the same amount, right? So anything which repeats itself with the same amount, whether yearly, quarterly, daily, qualifies as PMT.
Okay, understood.
If you get it once or you give it once, then either it is PV or it is FV, depending upon the timeline.
Understood.
Right? Okay. Question number 10. Let's say calculate that quickly. How much would you pay for an investment which will be worth? So how much would you pay? Okay. When do we usually pay? We pay today, right? So the obvious thing which is asked is rate, right? How much would you pay for an investment which will be worth 16,000 in 3 years? Even if you get confused with the language of the question, you clearly know which will be worth 16,000 in 4 years. That means 16,000 is future value, right? So I know that 16,000 is future value. So I've got all the other data available here. Like, for example, I have the rate available, 5%, right? I know the number of years, which is 3, right? I have not been given any PMT, but I know that in the future, I'm going to get 16,000. So that is the future value. and type does not matter in single cash flow investments or cash calculations. So type 01 will not make any difference. Okay. So 13,821 is what you would be willing to pay. Okay. Considering you get 16,000 in 3 years. Now, slowly and slowly also start thinking about the assumptions. What is affecting how much? The biggest thing which affects any time value of money calculation is the rate. Always remember, the very sensitive calculation. Okay, you change it by a little bit, and it will have like the answer can go from left to right. Let's say you might say that okay, 13,821 is the value of 16,000 which I will receive after 3 years, right? What if I change the rate of interest? If I take instead of 5, I take just increase it by 3%. Let's see what happens to the value. It decreased by almost 1,000 rupees only in a matter of 3 years. Okay, we're not talking about 20 years. If I change the N per from 3 to 6, look at the effect, what happens. Okay, so the highest effect obviously will be the N per, but the most sensitive number is the rate, because that affects the compounding. Because most time our time value of money calculations, our valuation of any asset involves a lot of years. So number of years are always going to be higher. But if the number of years are higher, the 5% assumption becomes even more critical. So that's why, as an analyst, as an equity research analyst, or as a personal financial advisor, or you yourself for your own personal finance, you have to be very careful on what you assume in the rate, because that can make a hell lot of a difference. Okay, and we will be doing those projects, right? So you will experience that. Question number 11. I hope everybody got question number 10. Okay, can anybody tell me the answer for question number 11? Interesting question. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pause my share so I can just keep the calculation ready at the end. Yes, Ponish, your answer is correct. Shani, your answer is correct. Just be careful of the signs though. Shani, your answer should be in negative because you'll be withdrawing. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's correct. No, I'm sorry. It's correct. Shani, yours is correct because you would be getting the money, right? So that's fine. Because your investment PV has to be negative. And PV and PMT will follow exact opposite. And PV and FE will follow exactly opposite signs. So Shani, yours is correct. And this is the answer. For question number 11. Sumit, you got the answer to question number 11?
Yeah, I got the answer, but I just mistaken with the sign of present value.
Yeah. Question number 12. Okay, interesting calculation. This is what you will be faced with when some financial advisor will come and give you a plan. I hope this will make sense because somebody will say, I will give you 16,000 at the beginning of each year for 8 years. And there will be another financial advisor will say, I will give you 12,000 at the end of each year for 12 years. And assuming that your money is worth 7%, that means your cost of equity or the opportunity cost, whatever you want to call it, right? That I have the confidence that even if these financial advisors don't give me anything, I can generate 7%, right? Myself without any effort. That is my money's worth in terms of rate. So, also, the data mentions that in order to get these annuities, you have to invest $75,000 in any case. Which one would you prefer? Now, before we attempt this question number 12, can anybody tell me, is this possible using FV, rate, PV, etc.?
Yes, sir. We can, in theory, do this.
Okay. Because the values are same, right?
Yeah. Can I explain it? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
why not?
it's right or not.
Why not?
First, we will see how much will it cost in the future for that 16 and 12%. And based on that, we will calculate the 75 amount for 7%.
Okay.
Whichever is the highest, we are getting compared to both of them. Will
Okay.
be right choice. Is it right?
Okay. So, are you suggesting that we calculate the rate of return?
Yes, sir.
But the question here is that okay, so make an attempt. Okay, try make an attempt. Tell me which one you would prefer personally. Okay, and then we will see whether it makes sense. So we will try to keep this question as open as possible. We'll try it using different methods, and we'll see where it ends up. Okay, so you use your method, and you tell me what your preference
Okay.
is. Okay. Similarly, everybody else can also use their own method. Okay, whatever. Don't have to know any preconceived ideas. Okay. Tell me which one would you prefer, and I will also calculate at my end, and let's all try to bring this together. Okay. So I'm just gonna pause my Excel for a while till you do this, and I'm also gonna do it at my end. Yes, Omkar, you can calculate separately also, not a problem. You should do separate calculations. Okay, I'm done with my calculation. I'll just wait for other people to chip in. Okay, and then we will take it from there.
I'm done, sir.
My Excel just crashed again. Okay, I have to redo the calculation. Okay, let's do it fast now. Okay, can we discuss? Okay, let's try and get. So Shani has changed his answer. Okay. So, Omkar, what's your preference? Sumit, everybody chip in. What is your preference? Which one would you take? Okay. So, Omkar says A. Okay, Omkar, why A? Shani, also, if you could explain why you would like to go with A. And what about Richard and Manish and Sumit? Okay, A. So, guys, give me an explanation why A. Okay, so how much is the return?
Sir, I don't know, I did it in your way, but I calculate the future value of the A and B.
Okay.
And then I calculated the what will be the cost of 75
Okay.
after 8 year and 12 year. And
Okay.
based on the difference, I see whichever is the higher and choose that one. Is it right or not? I don't know. Hello.
Okay. All right. So I think what you did is you gave in too much effort for that. The answer was very simple to get. Okay. You need to fix first how I'm going to approach this question. Okay. I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is annuity A,
Yeah,
annuity
yes.
B, right? And both costs same. There is a subtle difference between annuity and annuity B. If you see in annuity A, if you see the question says beginning of each year. Can you see that? We'll pay you 16,000 at the beginning of each year for 8 years, right? Remember what we discussed in beginning. It would mean that at the start itself, you invested, how much was it costing? How much was it? 75,000, right? So minus 75,000 is happening like this. So you invested 75,000 and instantly you got 16,000. That means what happened is your net initial investment or your first period looked something like this, right? So this is beginning calculation, right? If you have confusion with that, you need to go and check my this sheet. Where is it? Okay, I think this is the other sheet that I'm referring to. In your sheet, you can look at the subtle difference sheet. Okay, in the subtle difference sheet, I've exactly shown you what is the difference between beginning and ending. So this is what it's looking like. Leaving that apart, here also it is the same. The only difference is this is an ending year calculation, a normal calculation. So you invested at year 0 and then you started getting after a difference of 1 year at least. Started getting 12,000, right? Although the value of money looks higher here. So you can see out here, the value of money adds up to 1,44,000. And if you see the value of money out here, it looks as 1,12,000, right? Also plus the 16,000 that you get. So somewhere around 16,000 is 1,12,000 plus 16, right? So somewhere around 1,28,000 is what it looks out here, right? However, if you see this is happening in a very short period and this is happening over a very long period, right? Simple calculation also, if you don't know anything, you just use the rate function, right? What is the N per? The N per is 12 in this case. What is the PMT that you're getting? 16,000 positive because you're getting it, right? What is the present value that you invested? Minus 75,000. What is the future value? 0. Type beginning period. So 1 and end it. Oops, I think I screwed up the signs. And per PMT 16,000. Okay, I think. See what I need to do. Why is it giving me an error? Yeah, exactly. It should come to about 12%. Not 12%. 12% should come here. Somewhere around 19% is what should come here. Oh, I think I took in. Sorry. 6,000. 16,000 is what I'm getting, and 75,000. Okay. 75,000 is what we invested. And let me just get this out. There's 1. Okay. This is, oh, sorry, this is not 12 years, right? This is 8 years. Okay. This is what you get. Sorry, that was my mistake. I was putting N per as 12. That was the error. So 8 is the number of periods. Do not count the years. Okay. Although it might look as to, okay, this is only 7 years. Forget about that. Because Excel is already, this function is already taking care of that by when you put 1. Right? So this adjustment Excel is already doing in the function here. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you see N per is 8, 16,000 what you're getting, you invested 75,000, which is PV. Future value is 0. type is 1, and guess, just keep it 0. Why is guess used? If in case we don't know if it's an iterative calculation, that means the answer tends to come, if the answer can be multiple, right? Then we use guess. For now, if you don't know anything, just put in 0. 19.177 is what you get out here. Your money was worth how much? Your money was worth 7%. So this is what you get if you invested in this annuity. Okay, basis a simple calculation. If I use the same thing here, NPER is 12, PMT is 12,000. So you get 12,000. You invest the same amount, 75,000, right? Future value is 0. Now type is 0, right? Ending period in case of the second annuity. You get 12%, right? Precisely 11.808. Your money is worth 7%, right? There is another way of doing this. Remember we did IRR calculation. So this is using the rate function. This is the rate function. Now we will use IRR. So IRR, open the bracket. Whenever we have series of cash flows, we can also use something called as IRR. Okay. Same thing, just select it. And you will get almost a similar answer or exactly the same answer. All right. Now, if you had selected IRR, see, if I had not done this adjustment like this, and if instead I would have put in something like this, 75,000 and then 16,000 for 8 years, then my IRR will be different. See, please understand this very well. See, what is my IRR now? 13.690, because what I'm assuming out here is ending year calculation. But if I want to calculate this using IRR, in my table, I need to make sure I am reflecting beginning year calculation. Please understand this very carefully, okay? See what is happening in the first year. When I'm saying beginning, what you mean to say is, today I started SIP and today itself I got my money. So my net initial investment decreased, right? So it's something like this. I started off by getting 16,000 and I invested 75,000. So my net investment reduces, right? So your 116,000 has already happened at the beginning itself. So 1 out here plus 7 out here, that it makes it 8. 8 times 16,000 is repeated. Now if you clear IRR, you get the right answer. So IRR can be used here also. Just select all the cash flows. 12%. Okay. Exactly the same answer you're going to get using rate also. This is one way of doing it. Okay. Let me know if you understood this.
Yeah, understood.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there is a third way of doing it also. Is to say that screw everything, let's find the present value of the future cash flows. Right? Wherever the present value is higher, we will take that investment. That can also be done, right? Let me not calculate returns. I don't want to calculate returns. Let's do one thing. Let's find the present value. So I've done the same thing here. Your money was worth what? 7%. How many periods were you going to get the money? 8 periods. How much were you willing to get? 16,000. Future value is 0 and type is 1. Right? So the present value of future cash flows was turning out to be 1,02,228. Right? The value of this money. I'm not talking about the investment. I'm talking about only the 16,000 that you're going to get. Okay, because any case, in both the cases, the initial investment is same. So it really does not matter how much you invest because investment is same. If I do the same thing here, 7%, 12 periods, and I'm going to get 12,000. So my PV comes up to be 95,300. So where is the present value higher? The present value is higher in A. So in all the cases, 3 methods we did. Finding the present value of future cash flows, calculating the rate function, or calculating the IRR. The conclusion is same. And that is how even you decide on a business. You just do not focus on returns. Okay. Returns is fine. Okay. Returns can appear to be very high. Okay. But what matters also is the present value of future cash flow, right? Because I can give you an investment which gives you a very high return, let's say 90%. But what if this present value is so small? Right? What if this present value is so small, it won't even make any difference, right? Right? So you have to be very careful when you talk about any terminologies. If you're talking about returns, whenever we will select businesses, okay, selection is based on, first is obviously looking at returns, but also looking at present value. And if you ask me which is more reliable, this. Why? Because let me just make up something for you. Okay, let me make up something for you. If I give you, I'm going to give you a business idea. Okay, you invest. Let's say we talk about a business idea in terms of a smaller investment. Okay, let's say we are talking about investment 1. Okay. And this investment really does not require any initial investment because this is more of an IT setup, right? It's more on intellectual abilities rather than actually any, capex happening in the business, right? So, if I was starting that company wherein it is more of my IP, then there is no initial investment. So let's say I invested max to max, let's say 15,000. Okay, very low investment. And I started getting, let's say about 20,000 every year. And let's say this is about 0. And this is almost about 10 years. Let's say this is investment 2. Okay. Your initial investment is about, let's say 1 lakh. And now you're getting not 20,000, but you're getting 50,000. Okay. Let's see what the IRR will say, tell us, or rate, whatever it is. IRR and rate is only different because if these numbers change, then I can use IRR. If the numbers are same, I can also use rate function. It does not matter. Okay, let me calculate IRR in both the cases. Which is looking more lucrative if you just looked at the returns? Which is looking more lucrative out of these two?
The first one, investment 1.
Yeah, but look at the cash flows.
Yeah.
It's not going to make any difference in a life now. If I have to earn 20,000, I mean, that is like saying I will start a small shop, which is already a part of my house. So there's no initial investment on me. So your IRRs will appear to be very higher, right? But what matters is also the cash flow. So now if you find and go and find the present value, let's see, find the present value. Let's say my value of money in both the cases are about 10 odd percent. Okay. 10% is the value of money. My value of my money's value, right? My money's cost, because I can easily generate 10%. And NPER is about 10, okay, which we already know. And the PMT, which we're going to get, is 20,000. Okay. And the future value is 0 and type is 0. So let's see what the present value turns out to be. It's about 122,891, right? Let's do the same thing here. PV rate is again 10%, same case. NPER is 10. PMT is 50,000 and future value 0 type is 0. Where is the present value higher?
Investment too.
Investment too.
Investment too, right?
Too.
Right.
Yeah.
Now let's go one step ahead. Okay. This is the value of this money that I'm going to receive, but I also invested, right? So what is my net present value? Right, net, because this is only considering what, 20,000. It is not considering the investment, right? So let me reduce this with 15,000. Okay, so first let me just make this as positive so that it's easier to do. So my net present value, okay, we know present value. This is present value, and this is net present value. In the same thing, I'll do it here. Now, if I find the net present value, which is higher? Investment 2, right? The reason, so now your decision making has to happen. Actually, you have to look at the returns, but also give it a shot to look at the net present value, because the returns which are going to give you a very high lucrative number might not actually make you a lot of money in absolute terms, right? I mean, you've given 10 years of your life to start a business. You are saying that, okay, your business is fantastic. It gives you 133% return. That too compounded annually. Okay, wonderful. But that is only because your initial investment was lower. But the value of this cash flows is so less, no, it's not going to make any difference in creating wealth, right? So when a decision is taken on a business, you try to take it combining both of them. Okay, so whenever you take a decision, first is second. One is obviously to look at rate / IRR. Second is to look at the net present value. Because if the net present value is too small, I mean, it's like saying you invested 50 rupees and you made 100 rupees. It appears to be 100% return. But that is very different from saying you invested 1 crore and you generated 20%, right? So 20% is 20 lakhs, whereas 50 invested 50 and became 100. That's 100% return, but you only make 50, right? So this is also where people go wrong. Okay, and you will. I mean, these are concepts that you're building on, which will be helpful in modeling, valuation, everything. Okay, so that even when you're picking up stocks, okay, you have to be very clear on what exactly are you talking about. Okay, how are we with this concept? Was this concept useful? Let me know if this was useful or it was complicated, whatever it was.
It was useful, sir.
Okay. Sumit, you got this idea? Omkar, Munish, Richard, you guys understood this concept?
Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
So remember three levels. Okay. Rate, IRR. Rate or IRR does not matter. The only difference between rate and IRR is if instead of writing 20,000 all the time, if I keep on changing the cash flow like this, then you cannot use rate, right? You cannot use rate because what will you put in the PMT? That's why IRR is useful, because IRR can handle this fluctuation, right? So rate / IRR basis how the cash flow is structured. If you look at a financial product which somebody comes and pitches to you, it will generally be equal. Okay, it will never be very fluctuating like this, right? But businesses are not like this. Businesses are usually very up and down, right? In that case, you will use IRR. Second is to look at find present value. Okay, second is to find present value of future cash flows, which is this, finding the present value of all the cash flows you want to generate in the future. Then just reduce your initial investment, which is now you have net present value, which is the most important number to look at. Okay, so let's leave it at there. Okay, and we will continue tomorrow again. By the way, I was just thinking, since I saw most of you were, didn't you enjoy studying also in the morning? I mean, I was thinking more of like, why can't we also study more during the week instead of just putting all the pressure on the weekend and getting disconnected? Let's say if we try to do Wednesday and let's say Friday and Saturday and Sunday also, and maybe we keep the sessions slightly shorter, let's say about 1 hour or so, 1.5 hour or so, and that helps us staying connected also, rather than just meeting directly over the weekend, because then these projects and all whatever we are doing tends to get extended, right? And we lose touch. So what is your suggestion? Do let me know again on WhatsApp. Let's discuss it on WhatsApp. But I feel that I think morning 7 o'clock everybody can make time, and if I can make time, and then I think anybody can make time. So if we can do it, start doing those weekday sessions also, I think will be much more. Do let me know, but
Every you mean like Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, but only 1 hour session.
no. Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday we do not touch. Okay, Saturday and Sunday continues just like how it is. Okay, maybe we can obviously, because see what happens is Saturday and Sunday, you guys are coming from office, and then 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. you're sitting. Then again in the morning you are waking up and doing the session. So either we do Saturday morning, right? But my question is not that. The problem that I'm trying to solve is not that. The problem that I'm trying to solve is that to stay more connected with the project, to stay more connected with the content, because if you're not interacting during the week, right, all these discussions could have happened in the week, right? And we would have gone much faster, and you would have completed the project on time. So what I'm suggesting is, apart from the Saturday and Sunday, what if we also start having at least, let's say, 2 classes more, but shorter versions of that. Let's say 1.5 hour session Wednesday, and let's say Thursday, or let's however you want to call it, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, Friday, doesn't matter. But 7 to 8:30 kind of a time, which I think
in the morning it will be fine.
Anna, because 7 to 8:30, I mean, it's hardly 1.5 hour. Today I still extended it all to 9:20, but this is not how I'm planning it. I'm planning to 7 a.m. we start, 8:30. That way, what will happen now? First of all, there will be no pressure for us to try to squeeze in the hours in weekend and take all the pressure and plus not learn the content, right? This is my thought. I mean, you guys can you are better judge because you are learning, and you should have your opinions.
Yes, sir, it is possible for me and Shani also.
Okay.
So
Yes, sir.
Monish, 7 to 8:30 is fine for you?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Then I think, Richard, what about you? I think you start working by 10, right?
Yeah, it's fine for me.
7 to 8:30, right? So let's decide on the days once, and the weekends continue like that. Okay, weekends we do not touch. In fact, what we can do is we can try to even make the weekend sessions shorter, but more focused. Okay.
So you are saying that we will touch on Saturday, on Sunday, on regular basis, means 7 p.m. to.
I'm okay with that. See, for me, it doesn't matter. I can do Saturday, Sunday, 7 to 9, Sunday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. plus weekdays. Let's say 7 to 8:30 twice, right? Let's say because we already met on Sunday, that means we can give a break of 1 day, right? And meet on Tuesday, right? Then we met on Tuesday, so we can give a break 1 day and then meet on Thursday. So there is connection every time, right? Happening.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine with me, sir. It will be much better Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, and Saturday also, I think, since it is a Saturday also, why I mean, people have plans in the evening. You guys might be having a plan, so you don't get I mean, you don't get blocked because of the class. So 7 to 8:30 we continue on Saturday also, and then Sunday also. I mean, so the whole night, whatever weekends you have it for yourself. But we never lag on the content also, and we never lose the touch also. This is my thought.
Yes, I'm perfectly fine with it. Actually, it's better preferred.
Yes, sir. Tuesday and Thursday is also fine for.
Okay, so let's just give me a final confirmation on WhatsApp, and then we will start from Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday. So 4 times. Imagine 4 times we are meeting, right? That's more important.
Yes, sir. And can we also meet on the Saturday on morning?
Yeah, that's what I've suggested. No, if it can happen on Thursday 7 a.m. to 8:30, because I've reduced the number of hours, right? So it can happen on Saturday also, and Sunday also it will be 7 to 8:30. So the whole thing is to do 1.5 hours, okay, like 1.5 hours, but do it more frequently. So it's one and the same thing, but we are meeting. So we are doing 6 hours per week. Right now, what is happening is we're trying to do everything in Saturday and Sunday. So it's like 2 hours and 2 hours, and plus we're not reconnecting again. Right. So first is load per session is decreasing. Right. Load per session is decreasing, and second is we are connecting more often. Doubts will be cleared sooner, and you will get time, your own personal time also. So you don't have to. You can still have a life. Okay, this is my thought. Let's confirm on the dates on WhatsApp group. Okay, and I guess you guys have to start working. Anyone have to start working. So let's start with our day. Okay, we extended a lot today.
Could you please share this doc?
Yeah. This
with us?
doc I'll share. Yeah, this I'll share.
Okay. Okay.
I'll
Thank you
just
so
get a
much.
copy of this. There you go. I'm going to send it on the WhatsApp. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. So best of luck for the day, and let's catch up tomorrow. Tomorrow we are catching up in the morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning 7 a.m.
Okay. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you too. Best of luck, guys. And
Thank you,
guys,
sir.
please come on. I mean, I've sent you that review form, and I'm thinking that probably nobody's liking our courses, so nobody's giving us a review.
No. Actually,
No, I'm not
I
talking
was
to-
like,
No, you have given us the
I
review.
was, okay.
I'm just saying, requesting the others to help us with some reviews. Okay, so whenever you get time, to help us with the review. Okay, I'm writing review here.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Best of luck. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Have
Bye-bye.
a great day.
Have a great day. Bye bye.